That's it. Live. Today is Thursday, the 17th of January 2019. Hello, chat room, everybody in the chat room. Patricia's on our panel, Flat Earth Dudes on our panel, and obviously special guest Crrow777. Hello.
Hey, Karen.
Hello, all.
Hey.
Hey, Crrow.
Happy 2019 to you, Crrow. We have not spoken to you since last year, whether you believe all that. I don't know if you do, but on this calendar we've got, it was last year. So happy 2019 for you, whatever you like to call it.
Right, it'll be an interesting year just because it ends in 19. That's the lunar metonic cycle that they code so much to. 9/11 has a lot to do with that. But it will be interesting. And yeah, I do not accept January as the first of the year. I think the spring equinox should be. Although there are other cultures that did it at the fall. But I think it has a lot to do with geography, actually.
How's that?
Well, if you live in the part of the world where there's no snow, it wouldn't matter as much to time your first of the year to the beginning of spring. Whereas if you did live in a place that freezes, the only new year that makes sense is in the spring.
Right.
It's when all the animals come back to life and all the plants and all that.
Yep.
I'm actually keeping an eye on my episode here because I'm wondering if they're going to take me down.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I was wondering that too.
Right.
Yeah, we can't really talk about that here. You guys will get in trouble if we say the words. Right. But I had to, for the first time, I had to put up just an introduction clip and run everything else on my website. And within seconds of me uploading the introduction clip, I was flagged. All the clips were removed, and I'm waiting to see if we get the old Encyclopedia Britannica informing people what they should believe. But maybe we should change the topic so we don't get you in trouble.
Yes, okay. So very quickly before we get on to some of your stuff, I'm a bit castled out. I've done a couple of videos with castles, towers, turrets, round, square ones, tours, star forts, pyramids. They're all really linked together. And when I look, a lot of the castles are star forts or in a star fort or have pyramids. So, yeah, nothing's as it seems, is it? None of it.
No, we're living a kind of rearranged history, aren't we?
Rearranged his story.
At least I can see that the star forts came first, and then the pyramids were built around them or in them. And the star forts look better built than the pyramid and the castles, but the castles are still well built. But the star forts look better built.
Yeah, look what we live in now. You know, little boxes and rectangles made out of basically crap. We've come a long way. Yeah.
Plastic.
All these new houses. I'm telling you, I feel like they're printing them. They're popping up everywhere. These condominiums and it's just absolutely insane. I don't know what they're made out of, but they go up in 5 minutes. It seems like I drive by one street and there's a whole new giant apartment condo complex done. I'm like, where did that come from? It's fascinating. It must be made out of all prefab, printed. I don't know what they're doing. It's crap. It's little boxes.
It's also built in the angles of sorrow, 90-degree angles. A lot of those old star forts don't have per se any 90-degree angles. The older idea being that 90 degrees is the angles of sorrow, and like an equilateral triangle, that kind of a degree space is the angles of joy. If you look at those star forts, which by the way are everywhere, as far as I can tell, on every continent.
Well, isn't there one on where they put the Statue of Liberty? Isn't that built on one?
Well, it kind of looks like that. Yeah, doesn't it? There's another one that I just saw where there was one of the old forts out in the Wild West where they set up the fort was next to one. So it goes to show you there was probably a more happy culture that lived closer to nature back in the day that's kind of been wiped from history. I know a lot of people are on about the mud floods and other things. I have kind of problems with some of those things, but I'll get around to it. I'll address it eventually. It just takes time to go through so much information.
No question. I mean, it does take.
Well, I just found out that this little castle up the road from me, but it is small. It's the size of a small church. It's not big, not a cathedral size or anything like that. I mean, you can actually on the video see people standing in it, so that's how small it is. But it's got a star fort. It's in a star fort. You can see it in the ground. And someone else did the cinematography on it and did a 360 pan around. You can see it's a star fort. And you think, nobody here will realise what that is. It's just incredible.
It would be interesting to see if someone took the time to go through some of the oldest structures or remains. We could see how many of them back in the day were built without 90-degree angles. And I think that's a telling thing because I think what you're looking at is a better understanding of nature and the way energy flows through things. And
so what are the towers then, Crow? There's a lot of towers. Even in the castles, they might have turrets, but they've got towers. Always got a square tower. There's a thing called Glastonbury Tor. That's a tower.
I think most of what we think are modern day castles are much closer to us in time than those older things we were talking about. But again, I haven't had enough time to go through. I was going to take on the mud flood because I see so many problems with what's being put out. But it's clear, you know, everybody's being keyed into the same idea. That basically history is a lie agreed upon, that there's a history we know nothing about, and that's what's driving it all. So even if people aren't getting it quite right or don't agree, at least they're challenging it, because over time, you know, things will work out, hopefully.
So in the mud floods, what's the bit you don't like then, or do you want to wait and put to your video? But
yeah, Jason and I may go at it. There's a number of things that it just doesn't work across the board, but we'll get to that when we do. It's just so much data has been put out now. So, you know, when you only have a week to prep for a show, it's not easy. What you'll find is most of the things that we cover, I've been studying for most of a lifetime. So when it comes to the week where we're going to recover it, I already have a pretty good idea. But when we come to things that are relatively new, a week is not a lot of time to do the research. So what ends up happening is I do little by little by little and form it out that way.
I know what you mean. I just thought I'd go and do something small on the castle thing, and I took hours on it again yesterday evening and today, and I actually recorded it once and didn't like it because it jumped a few times. I thought, oh, I have to do it again. And then I thought, oh, I would need to put that in there and that in there just for the little bit I've done. And it just takes a long time. And yeah, it takes, so I understand.
Crow, what's your take on American Indians and the history we've been handed there? I never asked you that.
Well, I don't think any of it's correct. I don't think the lineages are right. That's a tough one. You know, I saw people making the argument that the so-called American Indians came from India. We've seen genetic studies here and there that show them from parts of the world you wouldn't expect. It seems pretty clear to me that before the history we accept as mainstream history happened, there was a worldwide, everybody knew everybody thing going on. Much closer to nature, probably much happier civilizations that led into things like the cathedrals we see all over Europe. I mean, do we even have people alive right now that could build that close to nature? The argument there is that those were not originally meant to be religious edifices, but they were natural science edifices, and they were co-opted in. But pretty shortly after they're co-opted into religion, they quit making them. And we start heading towards, you know, the rectangles and the boxes we live in now. And this is all with intent. This is all planned out. There are groups of people who never lost the natural ideas. They just took over everything and created a new timeline. They created artificial things like science. They created artificial things like the idea of gravity. For some reason, we woke up one day and understanding a rock falls when you drop it needed some complex mathematics behind it and all this other nonsense. And this is where we are now. But there are a lot of people working to go backwards to try to discover what it was that was covered up.
Thing is, with those castles and that, yeah, I agree with exactly everything you say, but those people at least knew that the pyramids and the other things around them meant something, whereas we don't. We haven't taken any of that with us, but they did. Even if they the pyramids were there, or they were building around it. They were building around these things or on them. They obviously thought they meant something.
Well, I think a lot of it's about energy. Most people don't understand. Like when we did the cymatics episode, even though I took pains to point out why we were doing cymatics, a lot of people don't equate it with basically that is the root of everything. All the holy men you've ever heard stories of in your life, they were into the vibrational frequencies at one level or another. Everything is created from vibration. There's nothing that's not vibrating. That is the be all and end all of 3D reality. And so when you know that to be true, then the shapes of buildings start to matter, right? Because even the color of a building will start to matter, because all these things are basically frequencies of one kind or another, whether it's color or the shape of a building or the material you built the building out of. I mean, it seems like we can go back to a time when just about everything was built in stone. Then that time ended and started cutting down trees. I mean, imagine what England looked like before they started building everything out of wood. Or for that matter, you know, I spent a lot of time in Japan. Now, these days in Japan, so much is built out of concrete because they just don't have the timber to support their building.
Right.
But it all comes back to energy flows. That's what it's all about. And
there's even like a musical wave on the pyramids. We friends with Giza Pyramids. What's his channel called? Anyway, his name's Angel. GizaPyramid.com, and he would like to rebuild the Giza. He just those ones really fascinate him, and I've learnt rather a lot about the pyramids from him. But he was showing us like the steps; they're all in different positions, and then someone mapped them out, and they're like a musical wave. So even the pyramids, everything's got a waveform in it, like you were saying, energy, waveform, resonance.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. It was supposedly first, these ideas put forward, some of the oldest things people point to, and I think it goes back a lot further, is like the Hermetic ideas. They like to throw out the name Hermes Trismegistus, but for my money, these things were always known as long as there's been human beings at any level that mattered. Although, you know, the Hebrew calendar starts, what would it be now? What are we up to? 57, 78 or 9, I think is the year on the Hebrew calendar. It's the oldest one that I'm aware of. And these things mark a period in time for a reason. In the same way, they zeroed our calendar at the supposed birth of Jesus. They just zeroed everything out. And then they did the same in the Muslim world. When Muhammad came around, they zeroed everything out. And these are just efforts to block what came before. Because if there's a great event in a sane world, you don't zero out anything. You don't start everything over. You just mark the period that it happened. Because in essence, what you're doing is trading what you know all the way back for this supposed new thing that's important. And it makes absolutely no sense. So clearly, I think the Hebrew calendar marks an absolute starting point for something. But again, it's hard to know what that something is.
It's extremely hard to know.
Well, all the past cultures or anything that we can get from it, they were sort of much more in tune or knew much more than us, or were just as advanced or even more advanced than us. But with us, everything is so disconnected. Everything.
Well, that's because the people in charge can't be gods of nature. You know, it's the Prometheus story. It's the Luciferian story. Prometheus and Lucifer are basically the same story. And from the ruling class and the secret societies that we've covered, they look at the story like this. There was this dude named Lucifer, and he saw that human beings were suffering. So he came down, even though he was told not to, even though he told if you help the humans, you're going to pay in spades, he did it anyhow. So this is what the elites believe. It's the Prometheus story, bringing humans fire, and then Prometheus is punished till the end of time for having given the human beings fire, but he couldn't stand to watch them suffer. That's their perspective on this. And, you know, the truth of it is, if you have something like that to believe in, then why are you encoding it? Why are you hiding it? And so what this comes down to is the people who basically own everything in our world, they can't be gods of nature. They can't do it. So they're creating man-made things, artificial things, systems, and the internet, and all this digital everything. Now there's a world they can absolutely be gods of. When they have replaced as much of nature as they can with all this artificial nonsense, they will control the artificial nonsense and in some way, some kind of warped, twisted way, be the gods of this system. But they cannot make life. They cannot do the things nature can do. Nature is pretty much perfect from our point of view. You know, if something needs to happen, it will happen. This is not true of artificial systems. It's just not. It's not even a pale shadow. It's not even a good mimic, but that's where we're headed. So you can kind of see their stated point of view on it, why they're basically called Luciferian all the time. It's just the Prometheus story told over again, and what they're about. You know, it's even the idea of money shows that, you know, money is a far cry from me collecting these shells that have value and then trading it to the guy who grows wheat because I need wheat and he needs the shells. That's a whole more natural way of existing than artificially saying this paper is worth this. And by the way, there's 3 families that own this paper. And by the way, they printed all the paper. And by the way, this paper doesn't have any, but you can see it's just all artificial systems that they can kind of
some of those things, you know, if they're some of those things like grains or whatever, they could have been the gold, not actually gold as in metal. The gold is in the goods.
Well, the fact that gold holds the highest value is still reflected in what we call alchemy, which is actually natural sciences, because it is the highest elevation of a metal, right? It doesn't tarnish it anymore. It has all these properties which make it the peak of the pyramid of the metals. In the same way, you could probably go into the plant world and find out what that most advanced plant is. You could go into the animal world. You could find a human being. You probably can't, but logically you could, if it were possible. You could find the highest human being, which would be the idea of the Jesus Christ or the Buddha or the Muhammad. These people who have come out of history as being held up as above the rest. It's the natural science idea. All things are traveling up a ladder. Well, I guess that could be questioned now because the people in charge, as far as I can tell, seem to be traveling down the ladder while they hold as much power as they can.
Hey, I got sent a link the other day for this video on YouTube, and it's about these Gospels, which aren't in the Bible. And it said that when Jesus was 5 years of age, he killed 2 people, and then he brought them back to life. And this is the reason he had to go away. And I can't remember now because it was days ago, and I've watched so much stuff. I think it was monks he went off. They sent him off with some monks because
I could put that in perspective. You know, if look at this idea. So what I think the Buddha precedes Jesus by the accepted timeline in this world by about 500 years. Every single frickin' person the Buddha met is known. His whole family is known. Every place he went is known. And yet here's Jesus. You know, we're going to argue about what happened until he was 33 years old. Hint, hint, hint. These are all constructs, and while there is value in these things, they've been co-opted. After all, there is a Bible that belongs to a king, says right on the cover, this is King James Bible. You know, it's all a bit much in the modern age. We have to learn taking things at face value is really not acceptable, knowing what we know now. Each person has the ability to question and to challenge. Some of us are fortunate and we have good intuition. A lot of females have good intuition and they can just smell right out of the gate. Wait a minute, this isn't quite right. We need to get back to those ideas because
I must admit, I thought, what is Jesus then if at 5 years of age he's killing people?
Well, I mean, how does that ever get backed up? I could make up a story about Jesus tomorrow and start the same rumor. You know, what's the point of it? Put it this way, if it was so unimportant as to not be part of the mainstream history, then what does that tell you? It tells you either important things are hidden away because mainstream isn't worth what you think it is, or the exact opposite is true, where it had no value, so it didn't carry forward through time. Either way, what's the point of, wasting brain cycles on it?
Just got sent to me, that was all. I was thinking, what was he then if at that age he was killing people? But anyway, yes, it was
That's
just
a bit creepy to think about that.
Yeah.
I can show you all day long that the natural sciences were encoded throughout the Bible to the point where even the Gospels, just by the language they're using, tells you what part of the year they're talking about. In the same way that the Vatican took their 12 main saints and they paired them off with a month. That's basically just the idea of the sun in a given month in the acceptable year of the Lord. In other words, a saint playing the role of the sun in that month, basically. And they're still doing it. I took apart the movie Michael, where John Travolta is a supposed angel, which he's actually not. What John Travolta is portraying is an angle, not an angel. He's portraying an angle of the sun, and his character changes his outfit in every month of the acceptable year of the Lord. He plays all of them. He plays, Aries, Cancer, each of them, Gemini, and I've took the movie apart to show that this is still going on. And what that basically tells you is that the people who run this show and who are initiated and who know things, they never lost track of natural science. And that's all driven by the sky clock.
Is that was what you were talking about in your podcast 141 in Italy? The set in TV is easy to see, and also the tax police in Italy. Is it that one? Is that where that bit came from, or you put that bit?
No, what I was just referencing is in a bit older episode. I don't know what it is. I think it has Saint Andrew is on the cover because Saint Andrew stands in front of the Saltire cross, which is actually two compasses brought back to measure the sun coming over the equator at the spring equinox. And his brother John, of course, is the new first of the month. So we covered that then. The one you're referencing was just kind of an astounding insider view of a man who was being groomed into the highest political circles in Italy and said, you know what, I'm not doing this. And he bailed on it. And that was the story we put forth in that episode.
Yeah, we're listening to you.
That was the banker guy?
No, I think he stated he was a consultant, but he was being groomed into the highest political circles and the secret societies. He had kind of in the second hour, we covered his eyes wide shut moment, complete with a Jesuit priest trying to sleep with his wife. And yeah, it went on from there.
Creepy.
Yeah, pretty much.
This book of the Bible with books missing or whatever, even Enoch not being in there, it sounds more like a code book to me all the time. Whenever anything happens, it just sounds more like a code book of some kind, or a different kind of book than people think it is anyway.
Well, I can, I've tried to demonstrate that books like Hebrews was written by a Mason for Masons. If you're not an initiated Masons, you can't understand the book of Hebrews. The language is there for people who would quit looking through tunnel vision or, looking in the way they've been instructed to look, use their higher human facility, their God-given facility, and look at the language. We set this cornerstone. What are you looking at there? Who talks like that? I'll tell you who talks like that. Masons talk like that. But, we went into the point where initially ideas like the word Christian, the word Israelite, the word Jew, and the word Hebrew were all initiation levels back in the secret societies. Hebrew being like up around the Royal Arch degrees, the lowest being Christian. I think the second, I don't remember, it's either Jew or Israelite, and then it goes up to the Royal Arch degrees. But, a lot of people get insulted because they think that we're downing a thing they believe in, when in fact what we're doing is say, hey, take a closer look here. There's much more information in these scriptures than you were ever told about.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that one. And anyway, once you start understanding etymology and all the breaking downs of words, if people looking at it haven't understood all that, then they're reading the words wrong anyway.
Well, it's tricky, A lot of people, like I spent years studying, I don't even know how many versions of the Bible. As a matter of fact, I imagine I've read this version or that version of the Bible more than anything else. I'm sure of it. And I used concordances. You can look back to see what the original language was, what the original world. But what you find when you put Bibles next to each other is they've all been changed, some more than others. The NIV gets changed regularly. But if you plop of Geneva, which was very popular around the time of the supposed Mayflower here. Many of those people holding on to Geneva Bibles, and you compare it to a King James, these are very different. And what they say, if you get something like a Lamsa Bible written by a man who's claimed to speak Aramaic from the village he was in, that was the same Aramaic from the supposed time of Jesus, and the things he says are far afield from what you'll find in a King James or even an NIV. So there's all that to contend with. And on top of that, the Vatican wants you to accept that we got all these scriptures in Greek, which I do not accept. Of course, they lost the original Greek manuscript, but lo and behold, they have a perfect copy ready to show you. For my money, they were brought to you in Latin, and I think that's demonstrable. But a lot of people have spent a lot of years in churches and been taught by the man in black up in front what is acceptable to think about and what is not. And until you get beyond that and understand that each of us can think whatever the heck we want, it's hard to get over these hurdles that are put before us.
Yeah, because you can only say supposedly, because none of us can trust what we're told anymore, can we? I mean, I was just thinking then when you were talking about Latin, supposedly Welsh is older than Latin, and they have no vowels in, well, they do have vowels, but they have such long words with just letters and consonants, and it's quite it looks, I'm half Welsh, I don't get it. It's very difficult.
A lot of the secret religious ideas and the secret society stuff still to this day. I mean, we still have Scottish Rites Freemasonry, which confers, I think, only the 33rd degree is conferred by the Scottish Rites. Then there's the York's Rites, which, if I'm not mistaken, may be older. I forget. Jason looks at that stuff a lot more than I do. But yeah, these are key points of the world where, as history came forward, they had a lot to offer. But, I'll tell you flat out, if you go into a Masonic place where there are initiated people there up around the Royal Arch degrees, when they pick up a Bible, they're getting a lot more information out of it than you or I are.
Can I ask you something? What's your version on the Mandela effect?
I think part of it is manipulation to try to get people to think they can't even trust their own memory. But there's clearly something more going on there. And this is another one of those things where I've been looking at it slowly but surely for, 2 or 3 years. It's just a matter of being able to have enough time to really sit down and address the things that I experienced and to look at it. But I have seen over time and time again where it's sleight of hand. And so that's been mixed into it. But there are other things. Jason and I were just talking about this, that sleight of hand doesn't cover what we see going on. So I think it's probably a little bit of both. It's a little bit of cleverness in control mechanisms, and then it's just a little bit of sleight of hand. I used to use the example, if you go to Vegas and you see the white tiger fly across the stage, like a third of the people will say, "Oh my God, how did that happen? I just saw a white tiger fly across the stage." And maybe a third of the people will say, "Well, that's a clever trick. I wonder how they did it." And then another third of the people will say, "White tigers don't fly. It's clever however they did it, but, it's just a trick. White tigers don't fly." So it's a bit like that to some degree, what we see coming from the Mandela effect. Some of them can be explained away just by sleight of hand, but other ones that we've seen, it's not so easy to explain them away.
How do you remember that phrase in Mirror, Mirror on the Wall then, just asking? How do you remember it?
Guess I haven't really.
Who's the fairest of them all?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest? Is it fairest one of all? Maybe it's who's the fairest one of all.
Word. I don't think fairest is in there anymore. But I was thinking, well, I remember it as that. So, yeah. And I also sort of remember, I do remember Nelson Mandela dying, and other people in that life. Winnie Mandela got everything. But of course, in this, he was president and he got divorced and she didn't get anything this time. So that's a bit strange, isn't it? And there's just other things that people remember. But somebody I saw, they put basically that the Mandela effect only happens for those that wake up. I'm wondering if that's what it is. Is it the people waking up that are causing it? Because they've got such a good system going, haven't they, with us in it, and
that's
lying to it?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. One of the ones that got me thinking about it again was the biblical usage of the lion laying down with the lamb. I had just said it in an offhand way in one of my shows. Someone said the Bible doesn't say that. That's Mandela effect. It's been changed. Now it's the wolf laying down with the lamb or something like that. So I went and I looked, and the first couple places I looked, I found, in fact, it was not saying the lion lays down with the lamb. But here's the problem in that. I've been studying the Bible for so long and looking at how it encodes natural ideas, how the old natural sciences were kind of hidden within the scripture, that I always understood that when they said the lion lays down with the lamb, the outward idea to people is that it's a time of peace. Here's a lion that would eat a lamb, but yet there's a lamb laying with the lion, all peaceful. All these animals can lay down together. What's actually being communicated there is the sign of Leo, which is the sun sign. So whenever you see Leo the lion, like in the movies, when the movies start Leo the lion, that's the sun sign. So it's the sun in the sign of Aries, the lamb. That's the equinox, the time of equality. That's what's being encoded there. So I knew that there was no place for a wolf in this, and yet I could find places where they changed it. So to me, this is absolute manipulation, because I did work on this many years ago, and understand what part of what's being encoded in this idea. But yet we do see it changed in a bunch of places. And so there's clearly shenanigans afoot.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
I always think it's a bit strange, though, that they changed Jesus' name anyway. That there wasn't a J a few hundred years ago, and his name was Yeshua. So I find that a bit weird that they changed the name.
You got to keep in mind, that's another problem with the Bible. Every time you shift from one language to another, you're going to lose meaning.
Well, and you're gonna have the people that can afford to print the Bibles, they're just gonna edit it, any way they want. You know what I mean?
Look at it
if I'm
this way.
paying for it, I get to say what's in it, and you could see that they would just take advantage of the printing press and go, yeah, let's change a few things here and there.
But even if you suppose that there were some people who had truly didn't want to change anything, they just wanted to pull it out of Greek into English. Okay. Suppose there were people, they can't do it because there are ideas and idiosms and all these other things that English may not, it's like this old Latin idea we had where in one Latin based language, someone will say, I bore myself, right? We don't have that idea in English. And in English, I'm bored. It's not my fault. The universe has conspired against me so that now I'm bored. Whereas in some of the Latin languages, you would say, I bore myself. So no matter what language you're choosing to take it out of and put it into, you're going to lose meanings. And that sets aside idioms because, like I mentioned, the Lamsa Bible, the guy who supposedly spoke Aramaic, same that was in the time of Jesus, he said that the whole, camel through the eye of a needle was an idiom, that's what it was. In other words, if someone was learning English and I said to them, bats in the belfry, they'd be thinking, why the hell is he telling me there's bats in a bell tower? Where all people who speak English understand I just said someone's crazy because it's an idiom. It means someone's crazy. But there's all that to contend with. But I don't care what language you try to change. You change something from one language to another, you will in fact change meanings because all ideas are not unanimous. How many words do we have to borrow from German? Like Wanderlust and all these other ones, or for French, for that matter. And it just goes to show you. And that's the whole basis for the Hebrew Bible. First of all, when they make a new scroll, every character has to be in the exact same position and has to be perfectly formed or the scroll is destroyed. So that's as near perfect transmission as you can get, but there's more. You can't change the language. It has to be done in Hebrew. Same is true of the Islamic texts. They're supposed to be read in the language they were created in. And that is what's being protected against, is to change the meaning by going into a different language. Not only that, in the case of Islam and things like that, there's apparently a quite melodious, almost poetic sound in that language when they delivered their scripture. So, if you don't keep these things in mind, you're kind of missing the boat. And think how many times things like the Bible have had a language change.
100.
Lots of times.
Maybe more.
Lots of times.
Yeah.
But we kind of without working. I put in my last little video I did that a lot of people will say, well, we need to move on now and go into the future, to the future, and we can't solve the past, we'll never know. But I think it's a bit of both, really, because when you see Star Force, all these things, I mean,
what's that saying? If you don't know the past, how you know the future, or something like that?
He who controls the past controls the future.
Well,
same idea backwards. But there's a foundational way things work here. In the same way I can state that everything is a frequency, everything is moving, everything is vibrating. It is in fact its frequency, which makes it as we see it appear, like a rock or a cloud or what we call an element in modern science. These are all frequency ranges. So we have to get back to the true natural way things work. And I agree with you. We may never completely understand what was hidden behind us. We might, but we can't keep going forward with all this artificial nonsense. It's a, I don't even have a word for it. If I was a person who would use a word like blaspheme, which I don't, it's blaspheming against nature.
Treason. It's treason. I call it treason.
It's just against the natural world. It's damaging. It has no concern for life or living things. And it can't go on this way.
Yeah, it's not very kind and loving.
Just seems so
destructive.
Strange. We think we're so modern and everything, and we're not. We're the complete opposite of what we should be.
We're at a turning point. And there are people who want to control it all, and there are people who are waking up. So I guess we will see whether enough people wake up quickly enough to prevent the total takeover, or whether it goes the other way around. But there are people in this world right now working to control every facet of everything. And they're working at it so diligently that, what was that old Judge Dredd joke about Taco Bell being the last corporation in the world? That's where we're headed, where there's one corporation that basically owns everything. So
yep,
it'll be interesting to see.
That's where we're headed. We're getting close.
Do you think things changed a bit when Bush Senior died? Do you know, when I was growing up, out of all the people we've watched lately, as a person, because I didn't take that much notice of it, except when he was on the news or whatever, he just seems the most, he doesn't have all these things following him in media and that. But like when you look at it now, from like understanding flat Earth, the whole of the thing, and 9/11, he was like one of the worst.
Well, he was director of the CIA. What more do you need to know?
Yeah.
Skull and Bones, CIA president.
They're very selfish people. They don't have compassion in the same way that most people do. But that's kind of a catch-22 too. Any person who's truly on a path to higher spiritual plane, whether you want to call it enlightenment or heaven or whatever tradition you want to use to get there, one of the first things that gets brought into check is emotion. And we have it hammered into us all the time that if someone dies and you don't cry, well, you're just not a very good person. And if you don't show emotion properly at the right times, then you're not a caring person. Actually, the opposite is true, is that higher human beings have very good control.
Oh, hello. I love about you, Crow. You dropped out.
No.
We can't hear you.
Ability about, on the other hand, they're
back now.
They're kind of on the dark side.
Sorry, Crow, we lost you just for about 20 seconds or something. So just say that last bit again. Sorry.
Well, these people that we see, like the Bushes, where they seem to be completely without emotion.
Right.
Part of that is because they're ahead of us. They've known these older ways, so their human abilities are further, so their emotions are going to be in check. But also, there is a dark kind of coldness to it. So it's kind of a perversion of the same idea on the other side of the coin, where a person may have good control of their emotions, but they're doing it for the benefit of all living things. And I don't think
them dying is they know it's a lie. You can't really have an emotion for something that never happened and is a lie.
I suppose there's some of that too. That's an interesting idea. If you were standing up in front of a place talking about a thing you knew was not true, it might be hard to feel very, very much about it.
Right. Yeah. you wouldn't.
It always reminds me of President Reagan when the shuttle blew up, and he stands up there and he says something to the effect of, "The future is not for the weak. The future is for the brave." If you go back and look at that clip and understand that he knows that no shuttle blew up in the way everyone thinks, and then you reassess what he's saying to you, I think it fits your observation perfectly, because his emotion is directed at this effort to get their new world order, where it sounds like he's saying, well, we lost some people, but we got to buck up.
Yeah, and also on the day of 9/11,
it's very Hollywood.
Bush Jr. acted really strange, didn't he? I mean, he knew what was going on and he didn't know what to do. And I don't know, the stories are, sit there, don't do this, don't move, read to the children. So he was a bit like, ooh. But I mean, he didn't act like a man. You know, like if all that happened like they said it would he be sitting in a classroom?
Yeah, I don't know. They're all just actors. So, you know, they're acting a role. And if anyone in this world thinks they're not in charge either, they're playing their part that they're being told. You think Trump is the most powerful man in the world? I got news for you. He's got bosses.
He's got a lot of bosses.
Yep.
One thing I love about you, Crow, man, you never, I've never seen you get mad, really. Yeah,
I don't. It's counterproductive.
It's very inspirational. It's something I'm growing into. Is to not, when we're talking to people about the truth, is to be calm, and you know, speak from your heart, and not get emotional and raise your voice and yell. And I just,
everything is a vibration, man. You got to monitor what you're putting out in the world. And for my money, the Buddhists were not far wrong. You know, look at the center of their wheel of life, the three poisons that cause all hardship. One of those things in that center wheel is anger. And it's, you know, it's not lying to you.
I believe it's a learned behavior.
Sure it is. Hollywood's taught us well, hasn't it? As a matter of fact, you can almost say that our idea of marriage or any other thing in the West is Hollywood fashioned.
True. Yeah, it seems everything's Hollywood fashioned. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. Why we wear blue jeans.
Yep. They're comfy.
Anyway, I think your mind's probably changed a lot. Like starting off by doing the lunar wave into now everything. You've like almost included everything.
Yeah, it's been a great transformation.
Well, I was doing it all since I was young. It's not what people saw me doing. They saw me, they saw the telescope stuff. So I guess they kind of assumed, but nothing really changed. It's just what people are aware of.
Right. Yeah, same here. You know, I've been looking into this stuff for a long time, and here we are, man. We're heading into some interesting times, my friend.
It's going to be a heck of a year. You
grab
watch.
Yourself
you know, I'll make a prediction. I'll make a prediction right here, which I don't usually do, but watch January 19. It might be an interesting day.
That would be tomorrow.
For a lot of reasons, yeah.
Oh, Saturday.
No, day after tomorrow.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, it would be Saturday because that'll be 19 doubled. And so the idea of that, I'm reasonably sure that the idea.
I've heard of that date. Well, I have to say as well, Crow, like you.
Well, yesterday was the 16911 upside down.
I don't like those numbers.
The Marty McFly way, right? That's the Marty McFly way from Twin Pines.
And some really weird stuff went down yesterday. So I'm thinking some more's headed on Saturday. We'll find out.
Well, they love their 19s, and that is the Metonic cycle, the Metonic lunar cycle. Most people don't realize that each month, I think it slips 11 hours, and the complete cycle happens in 19 years. So think about what I'm telling you. Each month there's an 11-hour slip. I think it's 11 hours. I'll have to look at it again. I hope it's not minutes. That doesn't make sense. I think it's hours. 11 hours a month, and to complete a Metonic cycle is 19 years. So you get some insight into why those numbers get used so often.
Well, let's hope not. It's been a little bit quiet for a little while, hasn't it? You know, they need something now again all over the news.
So, have you looked into anything going on in France there with this yellow jacket protest at all?
We did a show on it. We showed that it
All
that
right.
it was wholly constructed.
Mhm.
We demonstrated that it's basically about money, about currency, the flow of currency. But what's more is we did an episode where we covered what the wisdom of the crowd is. Do you guys remember what the wisdom of the crowd is?
I don't.
So, like, if you go to a fair and there's this huge jar full of gumballs, lots of
Right.
gumballs, and they
Mhm.
ask 100 people, how many gumballs in this jar? Some people
Yeah.
won't even be close. Some people will
I've
say,
done
like,
that.
yeah, there's
They give
five.
away a prize if you can guess the right number or something.
Right, but my
Yeah.
point here is like some people will guess, oh, there's 2 million, and some people will guess there's only 10, when clearly those aren't even close. But if you ask 100 people, you're usually within 10% of the correct answer. But if you ask a few thousand people, pretty quickly you get right up on that number. So you're just like a percent or two away. And that's called wisdom of the crowd. And it's amazing when you think about it. But what people don't understand is image search engines are a version of wisdom of the crowd. So we took this in the Italy episode. We did the yellow flames were the tax police, and we did an image search for whatever the heck they were called. I can't remember, but part of it was yellow flame, and what came up was all the nonsense going on in France with the yellow vests, which tells you via wisdom of the crowd that there is an absolute relation, and they're both about money, about currency, that they're staged events. But Jungle Surfer did that for years, using image search engines to show the wisdom of the crowd. It's just I don't think people really understand what he's doing.
On our messenger group in Facebook, somebody sent me from the group. They sent me a video of France and all the policemen raiding the shops, all caught on camera. And they didn't just go in and go, "I'll just have that." They raided it. They went for it. It was horrible. About 30 of them. So I hope they're all arrested.
Man, all the world's a stage. I feel sorry for people in France. They seem to get it more severely than we do with all that, Eagles of Death metal nonsense. I was actually interviewed. Some guy named Rock, who I guess is a big personality there, wanted to interview me, but we had to get an interpreter because I don't speak French and he didn't speak English. And it was right around that Eagles of Death metal nonsense. And while we were on the air, I asked him, can I address this? And he said you could, but if you did, there would probably be gendarmes at my door tomorrow. And I thought he was kidding because it was coming through an interpreter. I said, you're kidding. He goes, no, I'm not kidding. I'm being dead serious. So I didn't mention anything, but there were a few things that I realized France apparently is far from even the freedom of speech we have left at this point.
Right. They're cracking down Germany as well. Talk about Hitler.
It'll be interesting to see how far Americans are willing to go before they find their huevos rancheros and stand up. How far will they allow this push to go on before people have been fed up? I don't know. Seems like they're taking a lot more than they should.
If you look back when, Parliament sort of started, it always was said it was working for the people. It was the people. It was the people. But everything has so changed that actually they're just running the people, controlling the people.
Well, if you want to go to the yeah, but you see, it's funny. That's the funny thing about language. So they're talking about people. Is that the legal definition for people? Because if that's the legal definition for people, you're talking about a straw man. That's who they're, working for. That's the problem with all this. The language you taught in school doesn't really cover what a lot of these words mean. I mean, how many people understand that almost everything to do with money is seafaring language? All of it.
Or understand. Yeah. That's a better term. I like that one better.
Exactly, for that matter.
That's the one thing I like about you, Crow, is that a lot of people get very fixed in what they're looking at or don't budge an inch. And you've progressed and progressed and progressed in your knowledge or what you're talking about on the subjects. I think that's very good. That's what keeps you here with the people. Because, a lot of people just stick one way and they get very narrow-minded about what they're looking at and don't realise that you know, you're learning every day and everything's changing sort of every day as we're finding out more information and so forth.
Well, you know, to be honest, I learned that from a tree, believe it or not. Not even kidding. I learned it from a tree. I used to set up my telescope in Lemon Grove, San Diego. That's where I was filming from. And there was a tree there. We'd like grown this vine up on the tree. But I was sitting out there, you know, because you sit there for hours trying to film something. I was thinking about that tree, and I thought from the first time I set up my telescope, that tree grew every day to what it is when I'm looking at it now. And then I realized I had a member of the family who his same spiritual ideas were the same when he was 16 as when he was 45. Nothing had changed. And that's when it dawned on me that, you know, you should be like the tree. Every day that tree grows a little bit. It doesn't just stand there and do the same thing over and over all the time. And a lot of us do.
I try to pick a new thing to do every year, like a hobby, painting, telescopes, whatever. Speaking of telescopes, so the 20th, we have a full lunar eclipse.
Right.
Is everybody aware of that?
Yeah, it's going to be freezing. It's going to be freezing here. And to be honest with you, lunar eclipse are less exciting than solar eclipses.
Of course.
But I'll tell you what, anyone who could film,
we're
experiment.
getting set up. Been dialing everything in this week.
What are you filming with?
I got the P900. I got my Canon T5 with the T-ring and a 10-inch Mead.
Schmidt Cassegrain, 10-inch Mead?
Mm-hmm.
How old is that Mead?
I think it's from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
90s.
So that's the good stuff.
It's a tank, baby.
Well, that's the good stuff. That's when all the steel was made. And mine's from the mid-90s. Like they're not good anymore.
Steel.
Meads are complete junk, but with your P900, you can totally full frame the moon. Actually, with your 10-inch, you can mostly full frame it. But one thing you'll notice about that, if you film a full eclipse, is there's a problem with the color. If you zoom in, the color will disappear.
Yeah.
If you're seeing red or anything, if you zoom in with a scope, the color goes away.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. Well, I'll see. It's going to be a first one I'm kind of really set up for that we're going to see. Hopefully it'll be clear. If not, I'm going to have to drive out to the desert in Southern California here and set up out there, whatever it takes.
Are you in San Diego?
No, I'm in Orange County. I'm north of San Diego.
Well, the mountains and the deserts are close, no matter where you are in Southern California.
Yeah, 100 miles, I'm gone, man. See ya. We're up in the desert, and I got a few friends up that way. I might go park it at their house or something. Anyway, looking forward to it. It'll be the first one I'm ever going to have a chance to really film, hopefully. If the weather's good. You've filmed quite a few of them.
I filmed every one that I could for over 4 years. Every transit, every lunar or solar eclipse, every supposed comet, everything.
Wow. Yep. Yeah, you were killing it. That's a lot of work.
It's not easy. It's
hard.
Yeah, it's your whole life. If you want to film the amount of things I was filming, you got to put in the hours.
Yeah, it's like anything. You have to put the time in, and there's a lot of effort. And like I said, you even got to the point where you're moving your telescope and injuring yourself. These things are heavy, man.
Yeah, well, my 11, when I first got it, I could lift it by myself, kind of, if it was a straight shot and sort. But then I had to get a surgery. I'll probably be at a lot more this next spring around, hopefully. It's just not easy here. There's stairs and everything here, and it's not like in San Diego. It was a straight shot, 15 steps and there. Here it's not that. Not only that, the trees are a pain in the butt here, man. They block the view every which way. But I like having the trees, so I guess it's a problem worth having.
Absolutely, the trees teach us things.
Taught me.
It's going to grow a little bit every day. We're going to add some new information here and there, and that's why I'm involved with this community, because everybody's doing a lot of work in different areas, and bringing different pieces to the puzzle to the table, and we're figuring it out one piece at a time. And you're a big part of that. Thank you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we love you,
You as
Crrow.
well.
Sure. Crrow, you're up in your radio podcast, aren't you?
I'm sorry, one more time, please.
Up in it. You're doing more time with your podcast now, aren't you?
Well, we do a show a week. We do a live show on Truth Frequency Radio Sunday nights. I guess, to be fair, we're not adding a lot of extra, but the amount that goes into it is always more now. It's not only that, it's so difficult to do research that matters online anymore. I mean, it's difficult. Jason kind of does that side of the house. I kind of do, but man, it's like I'm tired of getting the Encyclopedia Britannica or freaking Wikipedia. Unhelpful.
Yeah. It's there to steer you in the wrong direction, usually.
Those books are science fiction, aren't they?
Yeah, half of them they don't even meet the science part of that. They're certainly fiction.
I know. Right. Everything is wrong, isn't it? It's within the wrong paradigm or something. Maybe we've got to do this all again when everything is right, because everything is wrong. Everything is back.
Science doesn't even stand up to science. So say today you go into some science place somewhere in the world where all these scientists are doing what scientists do, and you walk in there and say, all right, scientists, today we're going to challenge the Apollo moon landings. Each of us is going to challenge it. In true scientific method, we're going to force this to prove itself true or false. And no one would help you. They would say, nope, we're scientists and we don't do crazy stuff like that because we know it's true. But you see, that's not science, is it?
When they've got those great big telescopes, because you guys have got big telescopes, but those great big ones, imagine what they're looking at, and they still want to pretend it's light years away. They'd be looking right in the star. How can they think it's millions of light years away?
Magic.
It goes to show you belief is a hell of a thing.
Magic.
Man. When you start to believe things, you get led astray. But I'll tell you what, when I first got my first big scope in the mid 90s, it was like 94 or something. It was right around when Hale Bop came the first time. And all of a sudden, all the big push was to not use optical telescopes anymore, was to use radio telescopes. This started to be a big thing. And I used to think, who the hell wants to go use data, when you could have an optical scope and do all these things? And I thought, well, you might do a part-time film and X-ray or whatever, just a different wavelength. But it dawned on me all these years later what they're doing. The hard, fast barrier, that's what all those radio telescopes are looking at. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial life, my butt. They're looking at the barrier in every frequency they can. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, those the lights in the sky all have the different frequencies, and they vibrate. A lot of vibration out there. We were talking about that earlier, just with your attitude and your calmness.
They all look like they're underwater.
They do. And those bands that come off the solar eclipse looks exactly like the waves at the bottom of my pool.
That was a trip when we had the last eclipse I filmed. I think it was the 2017 full solar eclipse. I had done sun gazing, and I just hadn't done it for a while, but I decided that when what they were telling us was the moon had covered as much as the sun as it was gonna, by the way, it was not the moon, it's provably not the moon covering the sun, that I was gonna stare straight at the sun, which I did. Now, when you stare at the sun, and you don't, just for everyone listening, don't go staring at the sun unless you know what the hell you're doing. It's like feeding a baby a jalapeno. You wouldn't do that. You gotta grow up to it. But if you look at the sun going down on the horizon, and you've initiated yourself into sun gazing enough where you could look for a minute or two, it's this very pure, calm, almost looks like a gateway, almost looks like you're looking into a gateway you could go into. When I did it at the eclipse, it was complete chaos. It was like all this stuff bouncing just crazily, and it was just totally The opposite during the eclipse is what I can tell you. And I looked straight into it for about 45 seconds.
Wow.
You mean there's little electrical things flying around all over the place?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like that. It's like a live wire gone haywire. But you see, that's normally when you do sun gazing, it's the exact opposite. It's like stable and calm and inviting and energizing. But during an eclipse, it is not. It's complete chaos.
Everything's electrical though, isn't it? I mean, I put Leah's in the chat room. I put their video out. They were there camping on a side of a river, and it was the dawn had just come and the light was there, and then suddenly this mist came across the water. There was no wind, nothing like that. And then this mist started to swirl up like little mini tornadoes, but going up into the sky. Electrical again. But it's just everything's electrical, isn't it?
For my money, electricity is the only force here, and magnetism is the daughter of electricity. That's all there is here. All this nuclear nonsense, it's provably nonsense. Even if we didn't know Madame Curie was complete made-up character, which we do know, the only force for my money here is electricity.
Hoaxbusters. Did you see his latest one? What was I can't remember what it was.
Did he put up another one that I didn't get alerted on?
It was like a couple. Like 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah, I saw 2 months ago.
Okay.
Let me look.
I mean, I know it sounds...
I had somebody through a conversation to me yesterday about what is fire? What is it? And he was going through some definitions on some different scientific credited websites like colleges and universities, and he's pulling up all these papers about fire, and apparently it's electricity.
Well, if you want to know,
I was like, what?
Well, according to alchemy, it's one of the 4 elemental principles. That's another thing. Science tells you there's 100 and whatever they're up to, 120 some elements.
Right.
Those are not elements. And not only that, the definition of what a scientific element isn't correct. Because the one thing we know is certain here in this world is change. Doesn't matter if you're a frickin' rock or a cloud. Change is going to occur, and eventually you won't be a rock or a cloud. And their idea of elements is that it can't be chemically divided, when the truth is there's no thing ever made that can't be chemically divided over enough time. But that's the difference.
Electricity with the thing, you just plug it in and it's in there. That's different to the natural one. Well, and also, you know, when in hospital they have to revive you, what do they give you? An electric shock with those, you know, they put them on your heart, doing. It's electric.
Electricity is the only force here. We have magnetism, but that is the daughter of electricity. There are plenty of people who see science is just ultra materialism, right? That's what it is. If you can't weigh it or measure it or sample it, or, you know, then to science, it's almost non-existent for most science. That's not true of all science.
Right.
But then you get into things like quantum mechanics, which are completely false in their description. Don't accept it for a second. But if you go back to the older natural ways, the elements are not things. They're philosophical principles, and it shows how nature works. One thing becomes another thing, till the end of time. And that also demonstrates why we're in a closed system, because everything we have needed to be here is here already. And it will continually transmute one thing into another, water into air, into water, into soil, into fire. Then it becomes something else. And that's the philosophical elemental principles which make the natural world possible. And science doesn't describe any of that. And by the way, science tells you nonsensical things like the Big Bang, which basically violates the 3rd law of thermodynamics. So if there is a thing called laws, then everyone should understand the Big Bang is complete poppycock. But then again, anyone can go online and find real physicists who will tell you exactly what I just told you. It's just that they don't get the press or a TV show named after them.
Right. They're not Hollywood. I had a chance to interview 6 hours with a quantum physicist, and there was the word imagine came up a lot. So,
that's like Newton's Principia. I don't think there's ever been a book that says if more ever written than Newton's
Right.
If this, then that.
If that's
How about
if,
this, man? How about definitely this, so that, but that's not how it goes. It's all just written as it's know what it's like. It's like writing code for a computer, an if statement. That's what Principia is like. If this, then that.
Yeah, somebody should go in there and highlight all the ifs.
There's hundreds
Yeah,
of
I
them.
was a bit disappointed. I work for someone who he's in his 80s and he's retired, but he calls himself a nuclear physicist. And the thing is that he was sort of interested enough to listen, but when Robin helped me write a letter to him, write it back, because obviously he's a man and the way he'd put it and so forth. Anyway, but we got to a bit of gravity and he started, I said, I don't believe in gravity. And he started jumping up and down in front of me. And I don't just mean telling me, he was angry. What about this then? Dunk, gravity, dunk. And I was saying, oh, and
he's getting very emotional because you're challenging his belief system. And
yeah.
Well, science doesn't have room for emotion, does it? Not real
no.
science. So there's that.
Or, Hollywood. Oh my goodness. Crow, you were showing me that years ago where you putting these scientists in Hollywood together, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then they're joking around on this shit, everything. Just not professional at all. Not you don't mix Hollywood and science, man. That's not how it's supposed to go.
Well, right now all the entertainment is going to be like the main thing. Pretty soon a knowledgeable person will be like someone from Ready Player One that knows about all the entertainment. That's going to be considered knowledge. But in that is wrapping up the need for human beings to be emotional. And that's where so many people go wrong. Emotion, emotion is basically wasted motion. If you just use motion, you're fine. Motion does things for you, takes you to the store, or walk out to your car. That's motion. Emotion, it's a waste of energy. It's what it is.
Yeah, they want us in anxiety, don't they? That's the point. They want us lost and broken and ugly.
Bad vibrations. Very bad.
Or overly happy, or overly sad, or anything that's not stable.
Right. It's not common.
I tell people, the television, it's all a lie, everything. And they look at you as if, oh, you can't be serious. Not everything's a lie. That's what they're saying to you without saying anything. Yeah, but it's all a lie. It's all just like a film set. I find it quite alarming. Everything's like being on a film set. All of it. Because none of it's real and everything's buried below us as if we're take number, whatever it is. It's all a bit like, wow.
Well, Shakespeare told us about that too, didn't he? He said all the world's a stage.
Welcome to the show where you don't even know it's a show. Or some people don't. I think we do.
Well, hey, is there anything you guys want to cover? I'm going to be doing dinner here in about 15 minutes.
Well, I was looking at your you did one of your podcasts that cannabis is the healing remedies from on high. So you did that one. Alchemy. You've done a lot of alchemy, haven't you? And remedies and stuff.
Yeah, so many people are always contacting with serious illnesses, and Western medicine is basically putting them on drugs or doing terrible things like chemotherapy, which is basically poison, when in fact there's a matter of fact, another cancer cure just was sent to me that I'm trying to vet out the other day. It's called dichloroacetate. Is it DCA? But apparently that's been around since the 30s, and the guy who found it was Nobel Prize winner. Of course, that got washed under the rug because it's such a simple molecule, it could never be patented for profit. But it's surprising how many people are going back to natural medicines and cannabis and the Gerson method, but those are all proven to actually effectively treat things like cancers.
Yes, it's such a shame, isn't it? They've got us on, chemicals rather than natural things. You should be buying bags of cannabis leaves in the supermarket to go with your salad, shouldn't you?
Well, it's kind of our own fault at this point because we're making the choice, aren't we? You know, there's enough information out there right now that people don't have to just swallow the fish hook. So yeah, it sucks that they do this, but at the same time, if you're going to get caught in that net, then kind of you're as guilty as they are, maybe.
How much has
Yeah.
your life changed with you waking up then, Crow? Like, with all the things has anything in your life changed because of the information you know now? You do things differently?
No, it's been so long. I guess it's just the way it is, has been this way for so long.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, okay, I understand. It's been with you for a long time. It's with other people as well. Didn't just have a wake up. Lots of people were awake before as well. They just didn't realize it necessarily.
Well, I never really fit into systems very well because even when I was in the Marine Corps, first thing I did was start, how can I control this system? How can I undermine the system so that I can do it the way I want to do it? I was a freaking Lance Corporal running my own life in the Marine Corps. That's not an easy thing to achieve. So most of the time when I was in the world, I was trying to figure out how not to comply with the systems I was being forced into. So in some ways, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit freer now because I don't even fake it anymore. I just don't care, I guess.
Right.
Do you feel that
I'm getting there.
Do you feel that you're being channeled this way, or it just all comes naturally to you, or you're being channeled through this to learn all this? Because obviously you do talk a lot of information.
Well, I guess we're all here to do what we're all here to do, and each of us has something we can contribute. And in the same way, you know, a lot of people don't want to be leaders. They don't want to be out front. They don't, you know, they would rather follow someone else's lead. There's people, all kinds of different people, but no matter what kind of a person you are, you can contribute to this. And I would say, yeah, definitely we reached an age where change is here. And there are a number of us. I don't know if I had decided not to do this, could I have? I don't know. If I tried not to do it, if that would even worked out.
Do you mind me asking you, like, because obviously we haven't never really talked much about your wife, and I know that she's probably separate anyway, but what does she think about all this stuff you're into? And is she the same? Does she understand, or is she not so into it?
She doesn't care to stare beyond the veil too much. She just goes on with her life, but she, you know, she's in my vicinity. I guess we're different in that way because I would rather try to make change while I can. And I think she's a bit more interested in having as normal a life as she can, understanding that this is all nonsense.
That's a good.
It's very deep, this subject. I'm sorry, Flat Earth Dude, you go for it.
Yeah, it's just a good place to be. Yeah, my wife's similar as well.
It's such a deep subject, though, isn't it? And I don't mean to. The only word I can find is, for a lot of people, it's a very intellectual subject because it covers so many things. You've got to turn into like mini scientists as well. That's not for everybody, is it? It just isn't. But
yeah, but there was a time when it was. You know, you always see these shows on TV about supposed pioneers, right? Well, if you were logically accept that at face value, that these people came from the East Coast of America and they went out into the wilderness, what did that man and woman have to do? Well, they had to do everything. They had to build their own place. They had to make their own tools. They had to get their own food. They had to do everything. So in some respects, anything furthering of technology, that was the individual had to do that. Unless you were lucky enough to be in a community where someone was really good at that and you could get it from them. But my point is that's part of what this artificial has convinced us all. You know, it's like Gilligan's Island. Well, we got a science problem. The only person here that can answer that is the professor. No, my butt. I'm no stupider than the professor is. I'll take a crack at it, you know?
Yeah.
Or who's going to make the dinner here? Well, the girl's going to make the dinner. And what's the rich guy got to do? He doesn't got to do anything because he's the rich guy. If there's a rule that's got to be, well, the captain has to make the rule because the captain, you know, it's these kind of programming ideas that convince us all that we have our own little beanhole that we got to go sit in for the rest of our life. And I don't accept it. You can do everything. You can take a shot at anything and everything. And by the way, just because you didn't get a PhD doesn't make you ill-equipped to challenge the natural world.
Exactly.
No, especially it's probably better if you didn't go through the education system that well, because then you're not too programmed that way.
That's a catch-22, man. People who get a PhD learn a lot of useful things, but they're in fact indoctrinated. So yeah, it's a catch-22.
That's right.
My father was a PhD. He was one of the brightest men I ever knew, but nonetheless, he was not aware of the things that we talk so greatly about now. You know,
he didn't know about the Tavistock Institute.
He was more concerned with learning for learning's sake, but you know, he could do math like no one you ever met. As a matter of fact, he was trying to solve some of the age-old math problems before he died. But yeah, you know, they learn a lot of useful things, but the problem is it's all wrapped in dogma.
Peter and Pete have when they start their videos, they've got someone saying, I can't remember the name of the person, but you can be really intelligent and also very stupid at the same time.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, Crow, what are you cooking tonight then? What are you having for tea?
Tea's another word for dinner too, huh?
Yeah, over the pond it is.
I think we're having salads and maybe some soup.
Hey, very nice. Well, I do really appreciate your time with us, because I know that you have roughly a time anyway, between an hour and a half, and we nearly got an hour and a half, so much appreciated.
Hey, if I have time,
Yeah,
I'm happy to stop in.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, we love you lots, we do. And yeah, you're one of the nice people in this horrible place we've been put.
Hey, man, it's not too late to be a nice person yourself. Everyone can do it. And if everyone did do it, these jackasses would have a tougher time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
Just
more.
very quickly before you go, you must see all the weird people, or the ones that've got the devil inside them, or the ego people. There are certain kind of people, aren't they? They just are.
Well, it's out of hand. I mean, even just on YouTube, how many people have been, you know, all these people are programmed that if you don't think what I think, then we need to fight about it. And that's just control. That's what that is. That's control.
Yeah. Agree with you. Anyway, Flat Earth Dude, should we say goodbye to Crow off air, or do you want to stay on a little bit longer?
No, I'm done. I think I'm done. I got to go eat.
Okay,
I'm getting hungry.
Say goodbye to the chat room. We'll say goodbye to the chat room, and we'll say very quickly goodbye to you off air, Crow. Anyway, thank you so much, Patricia, who's logged off. Obviously, internet problems. That's what happens with her sometimes. Thank you so much, Kenny, and of course, thank you very much,
thank you,
Crow 777.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. We'll catch up again soon.
And thank you, chat room. Mwah. We're back at the weekend. We're partying with Flat Earth Dude.
Remember to subscribe to Crrow777radio.com. There it is in the chat.
Oh, he's gone.
Here you go.
Gone. I wanted to say goodbye there.
All right. Thanks, Crow. That was good. Hugs out.
He's lovely. Anyway,
shout out to the chat. Trinity 4, Floyd, Sabrina, Midnight Gardener, my dude, my IPA dude, Super Leads, Floyd S, Jamie, Farmyard,
Sabrina,
Dawn, what's up,
Ron,
Dawn?
Mary, Dawn,
Joe Mama,
Flat Earth Fisherman. Oh, there's Patricia. She's coming back now.
I've met Joe Mama. He's a real person. You're all real people, as far as I know.
Patricia's just gone. Crow's just gone.
Flat Earth Fisherman, Sabrina, Josh X. What's up?
Sintist, Aminus. Oh, golly, some of your names, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Midnight Gardener.
Scientist.
Yeah,
that's a pretty clever name, man. I gotta give him that. That's pretty
Various.
Good. Ron, what's up, Ron?
What's that? Lamel.
Ron.
If you want your name shouted out, go say it in the chat room. Patricia, Crow's just gone, but I did say anyway. He had to go anyway, didn't he?
Oh, I don't want to hack that.
Yeah, scientist. Okay, now scientist.
Yeah. I thought you were
I
a
enjoy that. He's
cynicist.
lovely, Crow.
Cynicist.
And I like it because he doesn't just stick to one thing, and
Yeah, he's all over the
always
place,
talking
man. He's
about,
always
yeah,
bringing
diverse.
top shelf things to think about and look into, and very, very diverse in
The
the information.
Sote,
Saute.
just shouting out.
Saute.
John, oh, Josh X is in there. Josh is the Martin Kenny's friend, and
Oh,
he's
right
coming on the hangout
Josh.
on Monday. Yeah, he's
Oh,
coming on the hangout on Monday with David Geometer. So there he is.
awesome.
Hey, nice and mellow chat, Karen. Oh, he's lovely, Josh. Yeah.
No, I can't pronounce your name, John. Oh boy, I ain't even gonna hack that one. Sorry there, John. I can't pronounce it.
Anyway, as we're here,
It's not gonna work.
it's you and me, Flat Earth Dude.
Hey,
Explain
you know what? I got a little thing going tonight. I'm just gonna hang out, play some music on my channel. It's called TNT. And
before we go, though, as you're here, explain what
somebody wants to
we're doing on Saturday with you. What are we
all
doing
right.
with you?
Yeah, Saturday. Big. I don't know if it's big news, but we're just gonna go to I'm gonna live stream with interview equipment, so people can people can get interviewed on the streets of Hollywood about, flat Earth or whatever. We'll talk about everything from flat Earth to it could be religion, it could be the moon, the eclipse. It's going to be the 19th, so I expect some weird stuff to be going on. It's going to be a gorgeous day here, by the way. It's supposed to be close to 80. It's supposed to be really warm during the day, and then probably a little cooler at night. But the sun's supposed to be out. Yeah, go ahead.
It's sorry, can I just say, my mind is mine wanted to be read out in the chat room there. Say my name. I've done that.
My mind is mine.
Yeah, it's mine.
My mind is mine.
You're having a flat Earth pizza party, and then you're going flat smacking.
Yes, we're gonna go flat smacking. You want to call it that? We're just interviewing people on the streets of Hollywood, talking about everything, about truth, and come join us here on the Sun and Moon Family United. We're gonna have eclipse the next day, so the energy should be really good, and we'll see. I'm gonna get out there, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, and
it'll be fun. We'll have a few laughs. We got to have some fun with this as well. I am all about fun and seriousness at the same time. What's up, we flat earther. 444 truther. The truth. So yeah, we're gonna keep moving forward with spreading the news, man. Spreading the news. You're not living on a spinning ball, people. I don't think so. So yeah, we're gonna have fun and keep it real. And thank you, Karen, for doing it. Thank you. It's gonna be late night for you, Karen.
There's going to be people here though on our side. I mean,
yeah, we're gonna have people on the panel talking to people on the street, so it should be fun.
It looks like we're going to have Jin, obviously you, Patricia, Stephen Harris might be coming to the event, or he'll be on a bit of a hangout. Josh Stone, he was on the other day, he's coming on. Lisa's coming on. Trouble About when she wakes up. Bling Bling.
Bling Bling's an animal. I saw her out in Hollywood. She is not. She was killing me, man. Everybody was getting some bling bling in their face, man. It was great. But she did it with such class too, man. It was great. And excitement and enthusiasm. It was the first time she had the chance to do something like that. And she was pumped and going.
She really liked it. She really liked it.
That was a good night. That was a good night. Hopefully we'll have another one of those.
She enjoyed that.
We're going to be out there with Hori Sheet and quite a bunch of other flat earthers. So it should be pretty interesting.
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat. It's going to be a lot of flat talking.
Sounds like lots of people, doesn't it? Sounds like a party. Either way, our end, your end. Party.
Oh yeah, we do start the evening at a pizza joint which is really nice. They got a beautiful patio. Hopefully we'll sit out there and have some pizza and get set up, and then walk around the corner and talk to people on Hollywood Boulevard about flat Earth mostly.
You're going to be wearing your white jacket, Flat Earth
I'm
dude?
probably going to wear my lab coat. But yeah, it should be a great day, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been setting up my gear, making sure I got good audio. I've got, so I can hear the panel really well, and I can, the panel can hear the people on the street really well. I've been working on some new microphones and stuff to make it more, just a better quality audio mostly, and video. Yeah, I can only do so much. And
in the afternoon, but you're probably a bit early for you, but I'm hoping to have a chat with John the Morgal.
Okay, in the morning.
Well, afternoon, but morning for you.
Right.
It depends if he's working or not over the weekend, but if he's not,
All
then
right,
we're going to...
Don't burn yourself out now.
It's a busy day on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long day. You're going to have to take a nap.
Plus, I'm going out to lunch with my kids.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Yeah, I thought
Brew a pot of tea.
I thought I was cooking, right? Because I invited my youngest son, it's his birthday on the 11th of January, and he went away last weekend, and I thought I was cooking, and then he said, "Oh, I want to go out to a restaurant, and I'm paying." So that's fun.
Wow.
Oh, dearie me.
That's great. How fun.
Get to see both my granddaughters. But anyway, enough of that. So
that's going to be a great day. Okay, well, looking forward to Saturday.
And with Flat Earth Dude, and he's just explained
Hori and a bunch of people. Yeah. A bunch of Flat Earthers are going to meet up. At least there'll probably be 20 of us. I don't know. I have no idea.
It'll be cool.
At least 10. There's going to be at least 10 Flat Earthers there. I can guarantee that.
And us.
And us. And 10 on the panel. Check it.
Yeah.
It's going to be, so that's 20. All right. So I'm right.
So I just asked Patricia, are you there? Do you want to say anything before we go? Patricia.
Hang on a sec. I've got a mouthful of crisps.
Crisps. Some crisps.
You can't hear the crunching, can you?
No.
Hang on. We're holding on. All right, Josh.
I've just
looking forward to Monday.
I've just followed. I missed Crrow because my computer went off.
Josh, you want to come on? You want to come on the panel? You want to come on and talk to us?
Very quickly, so Patricia, I actually said we'll say goodbye to you off air, but I don't think he heard it like that, and he went like I was saying goodbye, and I thought, oh, he's gone. So we didn't really say. Well, we said goodbye, but I was going to say goodbye to him off air, but anyway, it didn't happen like that. So we sort of missed saying goodbye. Yeah.
Oh, at least I'm not alone then.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
It's nice having a hangout with Crrow, though, isn't it?
If you have to do as much research as Crrow does every week, you'd be like, I got to go. I'll do a lot of things. Like, all right, I'll drop in for an hour and a half and then back to eat, back to looking at books or something. I mean, it's mind-blowing the amount of information Crrow puts out, man. It's him and Jason are always doing great work, man.
Yeah, we've also got Josh X in the chat room. Who's the same. He does masses of work, and he's lovely. I had a chat with him yesterday. He's a lovely person. So other people do put a lot of effort in, or not an effort. It comes naturally, maybe to some.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, as long as you enjoyed that picture.
One of my things, I got the telescope thing. I do a lot of optical things, and then I like to go out and interview people on the street, man. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And, so looking forward to that. GM, he's in the chat. He's come out to Hollywood with us a few times.
I know what you mean, though. Leo came round. I met Leo, came to my house on Sunday. Poor person. I had the camera out, and that was it. And they let it happen, but they were nervous. And you don't think of that because we pick the camera up and we do it, but that doesn't mean other people are a bit shyer than us. We're quite
Right.
outward going, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm outgoing. I'm super outgoing. I'm not shy. I had a tour guide gig job when I was like 15. I just learned it. Being nervous about it is not going to help, so might as well enjoy it. Let's get out and talk to people, see what they think.
So we were with you. Shall we end the hangout now? We'll say
that was fun. That was fun.
We'll say goodbye off air, Flat Earth dude.
Always love good crow session. Come on.
He's great. You can feel it on the hangout, can't you? You just know
he's so calming and he doesn't. I've never seen him get mad. Even when he lost his channel, he wasn't mad. He was just like very much the same way he delivers all of his information. Just straightforward. This is what's going on. Here's the facts. This is what I've learned. This is what I'm doing. Check, 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 check. Never raise his voice. It's very calming. I want to be more like that.
And he's our friend and comes on our hangout, so we're very lucky to.
I'm so fortunate, and the good vibrations has brought me to get to hang out with you and Crow and everybody. Really good vibes on a lot of really good people, man. And it's all,
you get to talk telescopes with him.
No, man, right? But it's a great thing. Everybody's doing a good job, and keep calm, everybody. Try to not get too emotional over this crap, because it's bad enough we got lied to about what we're living on, and now
that's bad enough.
That's bad enough, you know. Forget the avalanche that comes after that, or before that, or what led you to that. But it can be overwhelming, and
it isn't.
Go ahead.
Carry on, yeah.
I have a telescope.
Yeah.
And the first time I used it, I was quite surprised because I could see a tree in the bottom of my garden.
That's a good thing to focus on. Yeah.
Where the branches are, and it was like, oh wow! Even though I was actually trying to aim for the moon, I didn't see the moon. I saw a tree. And then the second time I tried to use it, I couldn't even see the neighbours' windows. You know, the lights coming through the window. I don't know where it was pointing. I couldn't see anything. Pitch black. Nothing. Not even the street light or anything. But when I get moved and I get settled, I'm going to try and get it put up somewhere so I can have a look every night.
Yeah. You know, there's a star that, I don't know if you have the North Star, Polaris.
We do.
It's a great star to start with, if you can locate it, and because it doesn't move, right? So it's a great star to get your telescope dialed in on, because if you can see that one, you know. If it's
behind the tree, behind a tree, I'll probably spot it.
Well, Polaris is a great target to start with, because it's the star never moves. It never moves. That's always my that's one of my flat Earth.
The day today. I was actually in the daytime. I saw the moon out my window. It's switched right now to bit of daytime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. Love it. Yeah. So we keep making observations, and we're not spinning on a ball. We all pretty much know that. But what are we on?
I'm in the process of arranging another hangout with Brett from Australia, and I found his stuff. When his observations, his research, I found that really interesting, and he's really into all this and chatting, and so it looks like we're having another Aussie night to be arranged, and it's good because his sun has to be low in the sky to get long days and the heat, and when it goes north, then it's colder or less warm. That's not how it is for us.
Crazy.
I know.
Yeah, we're learning. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just pretty much get back to film in the sky some more. As soon as the weather breaks here, I want to really dial in my gear and.
Weather breaks. It's hot for you, isn't it? Anyway, weather breaks.
Oh, yeah, a break. Well, it's been raining all week, Karen. It's been raining all week, and us Californians, we start freaking out if it's raining all week. People get nervous around here. So we'll yeah, it's supposed to stop sometime today and clear out. Sometime it's starting to clear out tomorrow, and Saturday's supposed to be totally clear, not a cloud in the sky. And we've got these huge mountain ranges around us that are getting totally pummeled with snow. So once all this clears out, we're going to have these views of the valley and where we live with a mountain surrounding us covered with snow, just like the Alps. Beautiful.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
So we're gonna have that view for hopefully a couple of months, maybe. And yeah, it's good, man. You're out driving around, and you got these mountains that are right there that are 10,000 feet or 8,000 feet, just covered in white snow, and it's just beautiful, you know.
But it's hot down below.
Yeah, it's warm here, and we can drive up to the snow. It's only 60, 80, 100 miles away. And people do that. I do that, try to do that once a year, go skiing in the local mountains. It takes me about an hour to drive over there and spend the day on the slopes and then come back down and go to the beach. So yeah, that's how people do it in Southern California. So if you're capable, you know, a lot of people do it. A lot of people live here for that reason. You know, you got pretty much everything's right here. We got mountains, deserts, beaches, good weather. You know, that's why we have millions of But you got
grey sky, damp, cold. But we'll see what it's like on Saturday night with you when we're out on the party.
It's going to be super fun. We're going to start out at the pizza party, and then we'll interview some flat earthers. We'll hang out with them, and then some truthers or whatever. Whoever, we'll see who's there, and then we'll head down the road and we'll hit the street running, and we'll have a few handouts and stuff like that to talk to people, show people a couple different models. We have Dan has a beautiful flat earth round pizza flat earth model. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I think you've seen him. Anyway, we have that. We'll see. I don't know. We'll have some other stuff. I've got a few handout color printouts that I explain to people. And I got an iPad there with a ton of really cool pictures of flat earth on it and different things. So
well, we can see you in action on Saturday night.
Yeah. I'll be hopefully in rare form, and we'll see, man. It's 9/11 that day.
Did Steve Harris get in touch with you, by the way? Did he get in touch?
Who's
Steve Harris. Steve, you've been on a couple of hangouts with him.
Yeah. I don't think we ever hooked up. I don't know what happened.
Because maybe he doesn't know yet, but he's hoping to come for a bit.
Great. Yeah, bring him on. That would be great. He's
either going to be with you, or he's going to be
great.
on here.
Well, I hope so, man. Yeah, anybody wants to come down and join us. We're going to this restaurant. We usually hang out after. First,
what's the restaurant then?
Well, there's two. First one we're going to eat pizza at is called 900 Degrees Pizza. And then the second, we're going to hit this place called the Rusty Mullet. It's at the corner of Las Palmas and Highland. It's right there in the middle of what they call the Walk of Fame, where all the Hollywood elite freaky people have their stars. I'm there to make fun of Hollywood. I'm not there to support it. Believe me, I'm not there to show people that Hollywood's just a big fat lying piece of crap, man, as far as I can tell. And that's why I go out there, is to make fun of Hollywood. I not support them in any way.
Yeah, but in a sense, you've got to go to the place where everybody else thinks is hip, haven't you, for the television?
Well, there's tons of people there. If I got a camera and some microphones, and they come right up to you and start talking to you. So I don't have to put out a lot of effort to get people to interview and talk to about flat Earth.
Nimblehall says walk of shame.
It is. It's a walk of shame. It's a horrible place. I mean, it has a certain vibe down there that's for the most part, most people are smiling, having a good time, but if you didn't grow up, it's a rough city, man. There's some real.
Yeah, you're going to like a war zone, aren't you?
A lot of people would be afraid to go down there. I've never felt afraid down there ever. It's just
you've got to convince all these people who are into Dynasty and Dallas and all that it's all fake.
Yeah. Well, we do it with a bit of sense of humor. I don't yell at people, and I don't bark. I try to be calm. I want to be as calm.
Yeah, I know you've got the wrong name. It should be Flat Earth Cool Dude.
Yeah, I'm just calm. I don't want to raise my voice. I don't like yelling, so I'm not good at barking like that. Give me a microphone. I can still and an amplifier. Then I can get kind of loud. Yeah. But I don't have to raise my voice. I just turn up the amp. It's a lot easier. Yeah, turn that up. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna be out there with some really cool people, and got you on the panel. It's gonna be great.
Yep.
Gonna be excited.
Yeah, can I just say a few people have come in the chat room? Beck from Oz, there's John, and I've done him I think already, but anyway, you mentioned again. Then there's the Alternative Mystic and Michael Kilpatrick.
John.
So, yeah. Anyway, Flat Earth Dude, we could go on forever. Are we
I know, we could just go on back.
It was worth advertising Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll just throw
everybody. Everybody, we're in the limelight. We're on the town with Flat Earth Dude Saturday
going to
night.
Hollywood. Welcome to the show. You don't even know it's a show. Welcome to the show. Tonight I'm going to do my little music hangout on my channel called TNT. Welcome to drop in, say hi, whatever. It's just music mostly. I got some really cool videos. Sometimes I play in the background of the music, like ocean scenes, real relaxing stuff, man. I don't try to. Sometimes I'll put on like an old space movie from the 50s and just play music over the top of it. So whatever. I just play it by ear. I never ever plan anything.
You want to get the name of your channel that you're going to be playing this music on again? What's it? Which
it's my channel, Flat Earth Dude channel. That's it. I got that one. I can live stream on that one again. I got over my 90-day strike for playing a Disney movie. Oops. Don't do that.
Oh, poor you. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't.
I just say Patricia was trying to say something. Then Patricia, what were you trying to say? Sorry?
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, right. I can't tell if you hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're live.
I'm live. Do we have to dress up for Saturday night then?
What?
It's not a gala. No, it's.
Oh, I wanted to put my black dress on with my long.
All right, do it, man. I'm not
going
to
stop tiara.
You. I'm not going to stop you. Yeah, bring a costume, whatever you want to do.
Rubbing shoulders with the stars.
Bring your lab coat.
or at least where they've been.
Right. We can go check out. I'll give you guys. I'll give you guys a really good tour. Of what's around there. It's called Hollywood and Highland. We've got this one guy who's a musician. He hangs out on the street. His name's Flat Top. He's a flat earther, and he does these great songs and dances. And I'll definitely go over and talk to him for a while. He's so fun to listen to. He's full of like little wisdom chunks of, like you can beat the stress, man. Just just little things that are. I can't imitate him very well, but he's a character. Anyway, we'll go hang out with him for a little bit. And there's a bunch of other like little street musicians and people doing like juggling and I guess Hori's supposed to do something with his fire sticks, maybe. So,
oh wow, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
So that would be brilliant, yeah.
Just before this goes out of the chat room, Super Leeds wants to know what crisps Patricia is eating.
Well, you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've had a packet of Quavers and French fries. I know they're bad for you, but I'm hungry, so
Sounds
tell
good.
me off later.
I'm so getting hungry.
Yeah,
I
I'm
haven't
hungry.
eaten. I haven't
Crow's
eaten
going off
breakfast
to cook
yet.
dinner, isn't he? Crow's gone off to cook dinner.
Yeah, I gotta cook. I gotta go cook here in a minute. All right,
Anyway,
8 minutes. I gotta go in 8 minutes. I am.
Yeah, we'll say
eat.
goodbye off air, Flat Earth Dude. But on air, thank you everybody that's been in the chat room.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thanks,
thank
Crrow.
you, Flat Earth Dude, and thank you, Crrow.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you,
We're back
Karen.
over the weekend.
Cheers,
See
everyone.
you later, everybody.